This video is all about tennis elbow, and if you've had tennis elbow, you know how bad it sucks, and unfortunately, if you've had it, it means that you've probably had it multiple times, because with it being a repetitive use injury, you think you're good, and all of a sudden you're doing some carpentry, you're hammering a nail, you're putting up a ceiling fan, you're playing a little too much tennis, whatever it might be, and your arm fires up. Now, I've been having issues with tennis elbow for, 6 years, off and on. I'm good for 6 months, it's bad for 3 months. It's just this like repetitive thing, right? And I've kind of tried everything. I've had cortisone shots, I've done PRP, platelet-rich plasma, which was really, really helpful, but obviously there's a long layoff, it's relatively expensive. So it's not something that I want to continue doing. But I've been in physical therapy, I've done a lot of the different exercises, but recently I've come across, just doing some research, I've come across some things that are really, really helping me, so I wanted to share them with you. Because like the goal is, we're a tennis channel. We want you on the court playing as much tennis as you can, and tennis elbow is one of the things that will keep you off the court. Now with all that being said, here is a disclaimer. I'm not a doctor, shocking, I know, but I play one on TV. I know. The main thing here is just what your takeaways. This is what's helped me, and I know the frustration of trying everything and seeing multiple doctors not being able to get rid of it. These are the exercises that help me. You won't hear any fancy medical jargon, because I would just be lying to you, and that's not nice. So let's jump into it. Here are my favorite exercises for tennis elbow. So a lot of what I'm going to share with you today involves a resistance band. All right, and so these you can get online. You can go to Amazon, get them relatively. They don't have to be fancy. Just get different degrees of tension. It's typically you can find an easy, medium, and hard. I've been doing this for a while now, so I'm working with a little bit more of a thicker band, a more advanced band. But these are stabilization exercises, because what I've realized is what's happening, it has a lot to do with my shoulder and wrist. You guys that follow the channel, you see that I'm always taping up my wrists. I've got a torn TFCC, torn ECU. Not great stuff, but I can deal with the wrist. But then it's also issues with the shoulder, old surfing accident, torn labrum, all that fun stuff. Not the end of the world, but what ends up happening is the casualty of war is kind of between these two injuries, and it becomes the elbow. Now tennis elbow, just to go over real quick, remember it's on the top of the arm, like back by the elbow, that's golfer's elbow. I've never had that, thankfully, but my pain is absolutely, it radiates up towards the top. And now, so these resistance bands do a couple things. They help stabilize the shoulder. It helps strengthen the muscles that you use that are involved in these repetitive exercises that give you tennis elbow. So you're kind of this strength training is helping prevent, but also treat tennis elbow. That's my understanding. All right, so number one, take the band, put it on the inside of your arm, and get some resistance here. And very simply, all I'm doing is keeping my arm in, and I'm just gonna make a fist. Now I wanna make sure that this doesn't slip down. I wanna keep it just under the elbow, but I'm gonna do this 20 times. And I'm just making a fist. There's lots of tension here as the band is trying to pull my arm away, and I'm keeping my arm in. And I just do this 20 times. All right, now you can build up to like multiple sets. For me, typically I just do 20, and then I move on to the next exercise. Now the second exercise, this time you're gonna create that resistance, and you can go above the elbow too if that is more comfortable. It doesn't make a difference. Sometimes this will roll down. A lot of times when I'm at home, I'm laying down on the floor and doing this with the band attached to the base of a post. But if you're doing it standing up, you can go high. And what you want to do on this one is you're gonna, still keeping that tension, you're gonna open your hand, and then you're gonna close it and make a fist. And here you're gonna do this 15 times. And just like the other one, as you get stronger, you can start doing 2 sets. You can do more than 1 set. Now the key here is to make sure that you're keeping this tension, that you're keeping the arm by your side. You don't have to be all the way collapsed to your leg, but keep the arm by your side and just work through these rotations. All right, the third one with resistance is this time you're just going to bring the arm up and down, all right? But just like the first two, you want to make sure that you're keeping that tension so that the arm is pulled in. So you're stabilizing the shoulder, the scapular is in the back is engaged, and now you can really work through this and fire. You can feel it, like you can feel the muscles firing and really working on that tennis elbow prevention and helping it feel better. Now the next exercise, you're gonna need a weight, but you don't need a very heavy weight. 2-3 pounds will do the job. This is a Peloton weight that I grabbed from home. And if you've done PT for tennis elbow, you've probably done a variation of this to where you hang your hand off the edge of your knee. You know, you can do this off a table or using your leg, and you're simply curling up and you're doing these wrist curls. Now, what I found is while I was in PT, this actually really aggravated my arm. It didn't just aggravate my arm, but it also aggravated the wrist injury. So I came across these eccentric wrist drops, and this is exactly how I got over an Achilles injury. I had insertional Achilles tendinosis. That's not fun at all. But I would do these heel drops on the stairs, and this is really the same here. So what I'm doing in this exercise is that I'm taking out the hard part. So the hard part, right, is curling up. So what I'm gonna do, instead of curling up and getting all of this resistance and putting this strain on my arm, I'm gonna assist it. I'm actually gonna use my non-dominant hand, my left hand, and I'm gonna curl up, and then I'm just gonna focus on the eccentric part of the drop. All right, and I'm gonna do 2 sets of 15. You know, maybe if you're just starting out, do 2 sets of 10, or maybe just do 10. But the key here is that you're not doing the work of the lift. You're assisting the hard part, and then you're just focusing on very slowly doing the eccentric drop, where you're working on engaging those muscles that help curl your hand. And this one's been really helpful for me. This has been a really good exercise for me, especially with the other one really aggravating, doing the full range of motion, really aggravating the injury. The next exercise, as you can see in the video, is kettlebell swings. Now, this is Jeff Cavalier from Athlean X. So doing my research, you know, I looked at a lot of different medical sites. You know, YouTube's such a great place to find information, but these are, you know, physical therapists, doctors sharing their information. And then Jeff obviously knows his thing about the human body. And here is an exercise where you're really just working and focusing on how the shoulder is affecting the injury of tennis elbow. But don't take my word from it, hear it directly from Jeff.
We start with 2 hands on the kettlebell. Right, in this position here, you can see that we have to have this neutral wrist position, which requires activation of the extensors of the forearm. So if I'm in here and I perform a swing where I load up in here, load up posteriorly, you can see at the top, it's driven by the hips. But the arm is staying in this extended position, and the wrist is staying in this extended position, which is creating that stress, but the good form of stress, to that extensor tendon wad up here in the elbow, and maintaining the mechanics in the support from below. So I do swings. I do them 3 times a week for, let's say, 50 swings at a time, increasing it to 75, 100 swings, gradually increasing the load that you use each time you do it, or at least the volume of the swings that you do, and then gradually increasing the load. But one thing you can do without having to actually increase the load of the kettlebell you're using is then switch to a single arm version of it. So the same thing here, load through the hips and pop up. Again, even if you have a raging case right now of lateral epicondylitis or tennis elbow, you'll find that that doesn't really stress that. It gets blood to the area. It's doing much more for you in terms of a long-term solution than doing any of that rubbing or throwing a brace on it, short-term Bandaid.
And the very last one, the easiest one, you can watch your favorite basketball team, you know, favorite tennis player, and do this all at the same time, are these bands, little finger bands. You can see in the video, it's just simply having this band and spreading the fingers out to really, you know, help with that tennis elbow, and using a ball as well, you know, squishing the ball to really engage that muscle. Those things have really helped me. Everything that you know, I've shared today has really helped get my arm into a place that I can do the things that I want, and that includes doing more than just being isolated to one activity. So where I was running into is like, if I played tennis more than 2 or 3 times a week, my arm would fire up. But then if I like tried to lift on maybe try to lift in the morning and then play tennis in the afternoon, my arm would immediately fire up, right? I just had to be really mindful of what I was doing, and these exercises got me over the hump. I've had a lot of a good luck so far. I'm about 4 months out from trying these exercises, and I have not had any issues with tennis elbow. Now, with all this being said, you do have to make sure that you're doing the other things, and that includes icing after activity and definitely stretching. The stretches that we've kind of been told for tennis elbow, I think they still hold true. I haven't seen a lot of variation from them, but they seem to help for me. And these are the basic ones, holding 30 seconds here and doing this. You need to do it for at least a minute. That's one thing that I've kind of had a consensus from doctors, is that if you're not stretching a muscle for at least 1 minute, you're not getting the actual stretch that's needed to make a difference. So either hold it for a minute or 30 seconds on, and then take a little break, and then another 30 seconds, 2 sets. But so this is one, right? We all know this one. This one just feels good, man. When you do this one, you're like, oh, yep, that's the spot. You can see it, just that right there just feels good where you have so much trouble with tennis elbow. All right, so then after 30 seconds, this one I like a lot as well. A little bit of a different variation. And then I think a big one that was introduced to me late with the tennis elbow was making sure that you're taking care of your triceps. Just getting a good tricep stretch really plays a role. And I realize I constantly have tight triceps and quadriceps. It's like, for whatever reason, I was cursed with them just always being tight. But making sure that you take care of the tricep will also help your tennis elbow. Again, I'm not a doctor. These are just the things that have been helping me. So I thought I would share it, because if you have tennis elbow, it's not fun, and I hope they help you as well. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you've done that works for you, or maybe what hasn't worked. And maybe as a community of tennis players, we can all get over our tennis elbow, our repetitive use injury once and for all. But thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon.